Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Rick.
All right. Today, we are studying job training. Shorter module, so it'll be quick. Conduct or authorize job training for the professional development of the staff. So the termination of training and development aids, consider the crucial purchasing task changes that will occur within the next few years and how they are likely to change over time. And then we'll go to a needs and skills assessment, where you identify the skills that are currently available within the company. And you go through skills inventories and performance appraisal data and that type of thing. And ISM will come out and do this for you, of course, because they're trying to sell all of their classes. And then the skills then need to be translated into competencies or knowledge for training purposes. So according to a 2011 CAP studies, the new and evolving purchasing strategies will require new skill development. So in 2011, these were the evolving strategies, which are pretty general: talent management, risk management. I mean, in general, the buyer of today is very different from the buyer of the 1970s or 1980s, because you have to be much more computer savvy. And a lot of the buyers from the 70s and 80s, their big claim to fame was their notebook of who they had for contacts in the supply base. And that's just not as important these days. Strategies may require new skills for things like supplier collaborations, development of commodity teams, risk identification, green supply, global supply network costs, analytics, metrics, leadership, cross-cultural and management skills, etc. And then there's another 2013 study on chief purchasing officers conducted by the IBM Institute that concluded that high-performing purchasing departments had several common actions. 83% of the CPOs excelled at leveraging analytics, or so they said. 80% of the organizations reported that collaboration across departments was a key strength. 73% were effective at gathering insights from the supply base. 81% used social tactics such as crowdsourcing. And 88% collaborated on product development with suppliers. Recruiting and talent development were key strengths. And so this was selected CPOs, I'm assuming. Competency and gap analysis. So managers compare required skills to anticipated future skills needed with actual skills to produce a comprehensive list of training and development needs. So what you want to do is you want to look at what skills will you need in the future, what skills do you have today, and that's the gap. And then this is a list of skills, essentially. Capability and assessment models. These guys will come in and do an assessment of the group. This is ISM. And tell you where, because they'll just give us a bunch of multiple choice questions and tell us where we're weak and where we're strong. And then they'll say, and we've got some classes you could buy that will take care of all your problems. And they're not bad classes, but some of them are kind of spendy. Anyway, the ISM supply chain capability model evaluates 16 core competencies or 16 general areas, and then more than 70 sub areas. Things like business acumen, leadership, category management, social responsibility, financial analysis, etc. They're just, the way they're evaluating is through multiple choice questions. And then here's some more stuff. I mean, it covers pretty much everything that the CPSM covers. It's just a kind of an offshoot of their writing questions for CPSM and working with Fortune 500 companies. So designing and planning training programs, the company should have a job training plan that includes everyone in its organization. To avoid peaks where large numbers of people will be in job training should be ongoing and on an individual basis. And each skill needs to be mapped to a set of educational tools that an individual can then apply to achieve the expected skills. So if you say you need to master risk, you gotta have to provide some kind of training material so they can master risk. Supply management, training, and education. So ongoing career development. Come down here, assess environmental requirements, identify the skills, look at the gaps between what's required and what's the current purchasing department has. Identify the knowledge areas and assess the training mediums and evaluate outsourced providers like ISM. Run pilot. So 6 steps to job training process. Assess current and future environmental requirements, meaning what's the environment in the company for training. Executives need to review current and future business requirements. Identify skills. Senior management should work with a team to identify skills they perceive as critical to effective purchasing. And you could basically pick from a list that ISM can provide. And identify gaps and goals, assess the level of education and knowledge that exists across the purchasing function. So somehow or another, you need to evaluate what the knowledge base is today. And the company should identify ideal skill set for future requirements and identify key knowledge areas. And once a gap analysis identifies the necessary competencies required to advance to a particular position, it's necessary to establish specific knowledge areas to gain these competencies. So you got to say where you want to head. You got to figure out where you're at, and then you got to provide a roadmap for the individual on how to get there. Here's a purchasing skill inventory. I think this is something I actually did for Howard a few years back. Yeah, so here's your skills, behavior description, and then, basic level, fairly competent, unknown. And you can just go down and rate them, or you could give them multiple choice tests or watch them in action, do other things.
So this is competency for a particular person, not just goals of competency for a role?
Competency for a role is what they're talking about.
Yep.
So commodity manager or a senior commodity manager. Assess training mediums, determine which mediums best suit the company's purposes. So, in-person classes versus online courses, etc. Sophisticated career path decision support tools online. These tools allow employees to determine the sources and credentials that are required next in their career development. So if you're going to require an MBA, you list that somewhere. Basic knowledge on supply management fundamentals be required for ongoing employment. Yeah, that's pretty harsh, but I guess. These types of programs are filters to identify individuals who no longer possess the basic skills required. Yeah, evaluate outsourced providers. So once you know what skills you want and where you're at, the company should evaluate both in-house and outsourced training resources. And this is basically what ISM wants to sell you is their classes. Experience in the industry, references, experience in supply management, who you going to get your stuff from. There's a few people. They all tend to use the same consultants for classes. It's just a matter of how much they charge. Types of job training. If employees are expected to achieve and maintain desired levels of productivity over time, a certain amount of job training is usually required. So self-training commonly involves things like studying books and research reports, business periodicals, association meetings, some university classes may be applicable. seminars and workshops, just basically staying up to date with your industry. Functional orientation involves introduction of a new person to a job they're going to do. So functional being the purchasing department. What will be expected of the new employee and how they will fit into the department. So this is kind of onboarding. Orientation involves the introduction of a new person to the organization. B and C kind of go together. And then on the job training, give employee basic guidelines about what needs to be done. Supervisors should combine coaching with formal periodic meetings. This is how PACCAR does most of their training, on the job training. And experiential learning focuses on learning by doing so that participants experience the issues being studied. This is what the MCE course is really built on. Mentor program, there is a mentor program. Although they're talking more about training for a specific role, like a senior commodity manager mentoring a junior commodity manager. Our mentoring program tends to be more, how do you live in PACCAR kind of thing. Classroom, some companies have series of brief classes. Functional rotation, before they're given a permanent position in purchasing, say, they're assigned a few different desks or shadowing a few different desks. Web-based training over the internet. So you've got both synchronous and asynchronous web-based training. So synchronous is a live scheduled training over the net, and asynchronous is kind of a cool little term for you just dial it up and take it when you're ready. Career path planning. Company should offer information about the types of career paths available, the skills needed to pursue in specific paths. Professional certification. So here's some of the organizations that do certification related to purchasing. So here's CPSM that you're studying. ISM also offers this diversity. This is the government buyers here, public purchasing, public buyers. This is for contracts managers. It's really more government stuff. Federal contract manager, more government stuff. CPIM, this is the old APIC stuff. And this is APIC's version of this, the CPSM, but it's much simpler. Then you've got project management, CTL, which is another APICS course. And then this is CHIPS. This is the Great Britain version of ISM. Formal education and advanced degrees. Anymore, it is quite amazing that you can see a lot of supply chain management and purchasing and logistics degrees in the major universities. I mean, none of that stuff was there when I was going through. It was business. Professional and trade associations, ISM and other organizations like it offer many opportunities for learning and networking. All right. The reconciliation of individual skills and competencies with essential performance criteria is completed through the use of a what? Any guesses? Aaron, you've been gone, so give me a guess.
Yeah, well, we were talking about a gap analysis, so I like C, gap analysis, but I also think it could be D.
Yeah, I think it's C, because they've been talking about gap analysis. C it is. And I think we're going to skip this next question because it's just a friggin' novel and it'll take forever. You guys can look at it if you want. I'll post the answers in the chat. There's 6 questions out there, so why don't you guys go ahead and get on them, and we'll go over like 10 till, unless you raise your hands and you get done quicker. Three C5. All right, let's go look at some answers here. All right. Number 1 is alpha. Certification and qualification programs require an individual to demonstrate proficiency and knowledge. 2 is also alpha. Adherence to the organization's policies and ability to process requests for goods and services are basic. 3 is delta. Experiential learning focuses on learning by doing, so the participants experience the issues being studied. I don't know what the difference between that and hands-on is. Peer-to-peer, functional rotation. Oh, on the job, I guess, was the other one. Okay. 4 is also delta. Gap analysis compares current skills to an ideal profile. 5 is Bravo. Vince has worked with ISM and HR to develop standards for each position. He now needs to assess what the skills of his procurement personnel have. And 6 is Delta. On-the-job training is typically focused on learning a particular position through experience. All right, that's what I got for you today.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, see you
Thanks.
guys tomorrow.